Hey everyone. Yeah, this is the second part to something I did during my lunch hour 2 days ago on Saturday. Part one, I talked about, because this is basically a kind of a response to a topic done on DeviantArt, and I'll provide the link down below. But basically it was asking what are the best and worst story arcs in a scientific comic book. And like I said, with the worst ones, it was kind of hard to kind of decipher which ones were bad, which ones were good. Now, as far as best goes, well, that's kind of its own little category at times because there have been some good ones, and it's kind of hard to pick between them. I think on top of anybody's list, though, as far as best story arcs go, and again, this is probably on top of everybody's story arc. The best to me, one of the best to me, yes, it is a Ken Pender story, but to me, one of the best, if not one of the best, is Endgame. Because basically, here you had a story that, and this was at a time when you could go on, the internet was just, really becoming what it is. The internet was basically coming into its own at the time. I mean, it was out there. I mean, believe me, I used it at school, at high school, and all that. But the internet was just coming into its own and just starting to become what it has become and become what it's become today and will be in the future. And basically, it was, like I say, it was just coming into its own and becoming what has become today and will be in the future. So, at that time, no one really knew, though, what was going to happen in a comic unless they talked to a friend through phones, maybe some emails and all that. At school, nobody really knew. Nobody really knew. And when Endgame happened, it was a shocker. In fact, I remember when I first got the issues of Endgame. I first got the issues back in 1997. I think it was 1997. I had just ended my junior year of high school. I was going into my senior year. And again, I was going into my senior year. And during summer break, I was signed up. Well, yeah, it was suggested to me by some of my counselors and psychologists, if you will, that I, along with some other people, sign up for this summer this kind of like summer vocational study or rehab or whatever it was. I wasn't going cuckoo or anything, if that's what you're thinking. No, it's basically some kind of like a summer vocational training or study, if you will. Basically, it was kind of like giving you an idea of what it would be like. Basically, give you an idea of what it would be like when you would go to college in the future, and you'd be living in dorms with other people. Well, I lived there I stayed there for about a week or so. I think it was a week or 2 week deal, I can't remember. And during the weekends, they took us out to do things. They took us out to the mall, Westridge Mall. They took us to the movies. We saw Godzilla. Did we see Godzilla? No, that was the following year because I went back the next year. But they took us, like I say, to the malls. They took us to the movies. And they took us to these areas in between. Like I think when we went to get gas or something like that, it was some kind of an area in Topeka that had a comic shop. At a comic book shop, and I don't know if it was the comic book shop or it was the gas station. I think it might have been the gas station. But I walk in there, and this was at a time when gas stations, even then, but rarely do now, but back then, had racks of comic books right there. As soon as you walk in, there's the rack of comic books to your left or your right. And they had for Sonic issue 47, 49, and believe it or not, they had 50. Yeah. they had those 3 issues, I believe. So I bought them. The only one I was missing was 48. And I had to wait on that. I had to wait maybe a couple of years before I got 48 finally. Or a year or so before I got 48. I don't know how I got it, but I got it. I think I sent for it or something. But yeah, I had to wait a while before I got 48. But I got it and I completed the collection. Then of course, years later, I ended up getting those, I don't know if they still sell them, but those yearly packs of comics, those 12-issue packs that Archie would sell online of the comics they released that past year as one bundle. And that's how I got it again. And of course I got the director's cut super special edition of it as well. But my point is this, back then, when the internet was just coming into its own and becoming what it's become today and will be in the future, no one saw this story coming. No one saw what was going to happen in the story coming. No one saw the events that would lead up to it. No one saw Bunny and Antoine getting together. No one saw Sally supposedly die, but and that was originally what was going to happen. She was going to die. Hold on for a second. That's my mom calling. I'll be right back. Oh, no, it's not my mom. It's just Florence, Kentucky. I'm sorry about that. But she does call about this time, too, so whatever. But, like I said, no one saw Sally. No one thought Sally was going to die. No one thought that was going to happen. And originally, like I was saying before the phone interrupted, originally that was supposed to happen. Sally was supposed to originally be killed off. That was going to be the thing, because you had the king back in power, coming back into power, and the thought process was, what purpose would Sally serve anymore? Seeing as though her father's back in power, what purpose does she have as a princess? But because of the fact that Sega, of all people, had plans for her, Sega, of all people, had plans for her, and I can only feasibly imagine that those plans had to deal with the Sega world down in Sydney. Because here's the thing, Endgame was happening at the same time, the same year that the Sega World deal was happening. The Sega World deal was happening, and at the same time, in the same year, you had a little stage show down in the Sega World called Sonic Live. Sonic Live. And one of the main characters involved in this was, of course, Sally. Sally was a major character. So, to me, I find it kind of ironic that Sega saved Sally from being killed, at the same time that they have this stage show going down in one of the Sega World indoor theme parks in Sydney, Australia. So, I find it feasibly ironic, if you will. But anyway, I'm a little tired, you could kind of tell. I had a long day and everything yesterday, so. But anyway, but like I said, no one saw that potential of Sally dying, or in this case, going into a coma from her fall, surviving and being put into a coma, but going into a coma because of the fall. No one saw that happening. No one, like I said, saw that happening whatsoever. And, I know some people find that the way she was revived and brought back, a la Snow White deal. I know some people don't like that, how it was done, but hey, better than nothing, right? But to me, that's probably one of the best, if not the best, stories out there, story arcs they had. Another one. I would have to say that was decent in a sense that it was basically, I guess you could say, Ian Flynn's way of saying, "Hey, I've arrived on the scene. I am here now." To me, I think the best story arc that he did so far was Darkest Storm. I mean, the fact that you're arriving on the scene and one of your first major arcs is to center around Mammoth Mogul and what Eggman was doing and just big things going on. I mean, just to start off and basically say, "Hey, I'm here. I've arrived. Here's my big introduction, or my real big introduction to the comic." I don't think you couldn't get any better than Darkest Storm as far as Ian Flynn went. Now, I know some people might have their difference of opinion on it, but I think it was all right because, it led to more. I mean, basically, Darkest Storm set up, Darkest Storm really set up what was going to be in the future. I mean, here's what happened. You have a new character called Mecha, who's basically Robotnik Eggman proclaims as his daughter. You basically have her kill herself off by self-destructing because Eggman doesn't know what the heck's going on. And again, Darkest Storm basically builds things up to, of course, the next a two-issue of climax involving, of all characters, Tommy Turtle, a character that not a lot of people liked. But yeah, Darkest Storm really, to me, set this table of what Ian Flynn wanted to do. Basically set the tone of saying, hey, things are going to change around here. And oh, by the way, when I kill off somebody, whether we like it or not, minor, small, or even major, that character is going to remain dead. Or so we think. But yeah, that to me, it's mainly, Darkest Storm to me was probably the best thing for Ian Flynn to arrive on the scene with. Honestly, it was probably the best thing, probably the best story to really arrive on the scene and kind of make a statement, whether you like the guy or not. Another one that I thought was good was actually an adaptation of a video game. In fact, it was the adaptation of the relaunched or rebooted Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic Adventure. The reason I say that was pretty good, that was good, was the fact that you basically spent from, let's say, 79, you spent from 78, 79, issue 78, 79, all the way up to the mid-80 issues, if not late 80 issues. You used one 48-page original Supersonic special comic, to fit this entire story in. And again, this was at a time when a certain individual was the head writer, but damn, just damn. I mean, if you were to tell me that they were going to go that far just to really adapt, kind of show the bigness of what the game was really about, because at the time, I think some people said, even at that time, that Sonic Adventure was the biggest Sonic the Hedgehog game ever. And Archie apparently wanted to emphasize that, and they did, and I think they did a decent job. I really do. Um, as far as another one that I thought was okay, as far as some others I thought were okay, I have to say the invasion storyline was good. You know, the Mobius invasion, where Scourge and the suppression squad basically invaded, and for I don't know, I think for like a number of issues, took over Freedom HQ, turned it into Suppression HQ. I kind of like that because basically it shows you the badassness of the Scourge character at that time, because here's a guy that's not just bent and not just that's not just bent on proving, hey, I'm better than you, Sonic. I'm better because I'm bad, and bad is good. But you also have a guy that's also not just satisfied with conquering his world. He wants to conquer his counterpart's world, or at least some portions of it, and kind of say, hey, if I can conquer my world, I can conquer his. And I thought they did a decent job. Honestly, I did. I really think they did a decent job with it. I mean, and the way it ended, you have this all-out hedgehog war, if you will. You have Silver involved, you have Rubble the Hedge, you have Metal, you have Shadow. I mean, just the way it ended. So, to me, I think that was probably one of the better stories Ian Flynn did as well, because apparently one of the things Ian wanted to do, and this is one thing you do have to kind of respect him on, you don't have to, but you kind of have to respect him about, is he's willing to show that even at home, the heroes are not safe, that they're not invincible. So I did like that. I did like how they went with the Suppression Squad invasion story arc. I thought that was neat. I really did, because it showed that the fact that the freedom fighters had to fight to get back what they had lost already, but this time from the counterparts from another dimension, and of course one traitor. And then I think, to me, one of the better story arcs out there, and this was done by both Penders and Flynn at separate times, and I know some of you don't like it, but I like Mobius Years Later. I liked the original run. I liked the continuation. I liked the 30-year later run. I just liked it. I really did. I liked Pender's take on it. I liked Flynn's take on it. I liked the continuation. I liked the fact that you basically in the final story arc of it, as far as we know, you basically had the door open for a new group of freedom fighters, basically for the new generation. So I just really liked it, and I know some people didn't. I know some of the higher ups at Archie Comics probably didn't like it. Well, not just Archie Comics, but those that worked on the Sonic comic, like Ian Flynn looks at it as a what if, but Penders, he looks at it as canon, which is why I think is one of the reasons he kind of has this issue going on with Archie Comics and stuff. That's just my opinion. But anyway, I just liked how it was all done. I really did, because it gave you a glimpse of what could be. Now, I can understand why some people like Ian Flynn and some of the other people like Paul Kaminsky maybe, and Carl Bowlers and stuff. I can understand why they never liked it, and always felt that if it was going to be around, it should be a what if storyline, or it should be an alternate universe storyline, and not part of the Prime universe, because it pretty much gives away what's going to happen. So I can understand where they come from that, but in a sense, when you take a look at it, maybe from what Penders was trying to originally do, I think what Penders was trying to originally do was set up the fact that, hey, just because they defeated enemy, Robotnik, Eggman in the future, doesn't mean they're going to live in peace and prosperity forever. There's danger on every corner. And I think Ian Flynn understood that, but Ian Flynn took it in his own direction and said, okay, we're going to make it an alternate universe, though. We're going to make it an alternate future as a what-if kind of scenario. And I have to say, depending on which one you like over the other, I honestly thought both did a decent job with this whole story arc of the Mobius years later. I really did. And I'm hoping someday we might get another one. I know they can't use the word Mobius anymore, which I feel is stupid and should be changed. They should be allowed to use it again. But I hope we get another years later story continuation of this story somehow. I mean, I know there are certain characters that can't be used right now, and that's fine. But I hope someday we get something like that, because I think it's really good. I thought it was really good. So that's basically this was part 2 of my response video. Part 1, of course, being about the worst story arcs. Part 2 being the best. So this will be put together in a playlist. Hope you guys all enjoy it, and I will talk to you all later.